All right, welcome. I think we will get started, and I will talk slowly at the beginning because I see there are a few more people joining us. I'd like to welcome you all. My name is Jessica Nordhaus. I am State Director for Congresswoman Becca Balint and have been working on the community project funding process for a few years. So we're happy to have you all here and hopeful that the next 45 minutes to an hour will give you some information that you need to make a decision about applying to submit a project. So Morgan, if you would advance the slides, please. I'm going to kick us off. Before we do that, Thomas and Morgan, why don't you introduce yourselves? We'll just get the team out in front of people here.
Sure. Hey everybody, Thomas Renner here. I am a community liaison for the Congresswoman. I work on a bunch of different areas, but for what's relevant today to the CPF process. So I am the one who has been sending you the very quick turnaround emails for the past few years. So I always appreciate the interest in this program. And Morgan, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Nichols. I'm also community liaison for the Congresswoman, and I am here sort of in a support role to my wonderful colleagues, Thomas and Jessica. And if I could ask everyone, I am muting you, but if I haven't, please take just a second to mute yourself so while we go through the presentation. And we will be inviting people to ask questions at the end, and Jessica and Thomas will give those instructions as we move towards the end. Thanks so much.
And we also have on the line Kate Gorod, who is our legislative director in DC and works on a whole other part of our appropriations work, but she is also our link to the committees. So we've asked her to listen in to what some of your questions are, so that our office is able to be really responsive in this short timeline. So thanks for being here. If you weren't here at the top, my name is Jessica Nordhaus. I am State Director for Congresswoman Becca Balint. And as you are all here because you know that the House Appropriations Committee this week, 2 days ago, released guidance for this year's fiscal year 2027 community project funding process. CPF is what we call it, community project funding on the House side. The Senate has a similar process that they call congressionally directed spending, or CDS. You may have heard of that. It was formerly known as earmarks. And we, over the last several years, have had a very short turnaround, some delays with shutdowns and continuing resolutions. So it has not been there is no normal in this process, but what this process is it's designed to make the federal funding process more responsive to the needs of the American people. And it is an opportunity for Congresswoman Balint and our senators to bring money directly back to Vermont, money that is written into the appropriations bills, and that Vermonters then can use for specific projects. So it's not, it's project specific money, it's time specific money, it is not fast money. It takes a while. We'll go through some of the basics of the community project funding process. In fact, Morgan, if you could advance the slides, I think that's what we have up next. Oh no, an important disclaimer first. Members of Congress cannot guarantee which, if any, of their submitted projects will be funded, nor at what level. So as we get into this, you'll see there's a cap on the number of projects that members of the House can submit. There is no such cap in the Senate. Their process differs a little bit. Their timeline differs a little bit. But ours is really short this year, and we apologize for that. It is out of our control. This year, the Congresswoman has a cap of 20 projects that she can submit. That's up from 15 in the previous years. So it's good news. We can spread the money out a little bit. But what we believe we don't have more money to spend as a whole. Congress has not appropriated more money. So it might mean that the awards are a little bit lower this year. We usually aim, I think on average, we've come out to about $1 million in terms of, of what awards have come in the past, some far less, some a little bit more. So we just don't know. We won't know, and we don't have any control over which projects are funded, which projects are written into the appropriations bills, and at what level. Also, each project is assigned to an account. It's basically a bucket or a particular appropriations bill in the federal budget. And the eligibility requirements for those accounts are all different. So we sent you a link to the guide. We can share that in the chat if you don't have it, that link, or you can find it on ballant.house.gov. And it's a 40-page guide that outlines in detail the guidelines for each account. So that is where applicants need to start, is by reading the guidance to understand which account their project might be eligible for. Some accounts have matching fund requirements, and so that's something to pay attention to. You can certainly apply to all three offices, to the senator's office and senators' offices and our office. And in fact, we often encourage that. I don't believe their first submissions are due until April 2nd. So they have a little bit more lead time. They are not limited in the number of projects they can submit. Sometimes they can fund larger projects, and they also have different accounts than we do. No matter what your project is, no matter the account, you need to be able to demonstrate community support. And that is all written down in the guidance too, but that is letters from your town or your select board, newspaper articles, a demonstration of need and support. You'll need to produce those in time to turn in your final application. Also, the funding is slow because we have to go through the budget process. The federal budget has to be passed by the Senate, by the House and the Senate, and the president has to sign it. And then if you're awarded the money, you have to apply through the agency. So you're guaranteed the money. The money is written in the federal funding bill, but you still do need to work with the agency. And in some accounts, you need to put up the money for the project and you get reimbursed. Others you can pull down the money to get your project started. But we really recommend that this kind of funding be used as part of a stack. Whether you have matching funds or not, this is that's the way most people successfully use their CPF money. We are here to help you through this process. So starting from now until if you are accepted as a finalist, asked for more information, your project is submitted, it's approved and appropriated, you're working with the agency, our office is here. So we can't do the work for you, but we can certainly get questions answered and help you with that process. This year, we have a new account available to us on the House side, which is the Labor, Health, and Human Services and related agencies. Nope, maybe that one is Labor, Health, and Human Services and Education account. So we'll have some more details here in a minute. And I think I will turn it over to Thomas now to walk through what our available accounts are.
Thank you, Jessica. So as we look at these accounts, these are kind of overarching accounts that you all can look into applying to. So we have agriculture, rural development, food development, and drug administration, commerce, justice, science, energy and water development, homeland security, interior environment, labor, health, and human services, which is new, as Jessica mentioned, military construction, veterans affairs, and transportation and housing and urban development. So many of these overarching accounts, excuse me, have sub accounts that are related to them. So when you're looking at the guidance, what you're going to really be looking at is at the guidance for those individual sub accounts. And one thing that I tell applicants every year is it is worthwhile to go over each of the accounts for your project, just because you may think that your project should fit into a certain account, but it will turn out that there is actually funding for that elsewhere. A good example of this is the Agriculture Rural Development Community Facilities Grant, which is underneath that first account that we have listed. A lot of projects are funded through that account line that have absolutely nothing to do with agriculture. So I encourage you all to really take a look at every account that is there if you're not finding somewhere where you think your project may fit. Next slide, Morgan. So the timeline and process, I really can't state enough, and we have a few times, this is an incredibly short process. I found myself saying this to you all via email or individual phone call, because this is what we have been given each time by the Republican Appropriations Committee, who controls this entire process for us and sets these timelines out for the most part. We wish that we could give you more time. We don't want to have you scrambling. I don't like that I had to send you an email yesterday and I need your interest forms tomorrow. But unfortunately, that is where we are. So for that timeline, again, your short form interest form. So those are just a form saying once you've left this webinar, you take a look at that guidance. If you think that you have a project that might fit in one of those buckets, we ask that you fill out the form. Even if you're not 100% sure, we can take a look at that once we get your project in. So fill that form out, and if you can get that back to us, I need it March 2nd at 5 p.m. Please and thank you. After that, what we will be doing is looking at all of your forms, going over the information, likely contacting you if we have questions. We will then have those first round selections. We're going to ask you for more information. We're going to have another form for you to fill out by March 9th at 12 p.m. And what we'll be collecting in that form is the information really that the committee is going to need. Again, this process, the Congresswoman advocates with her colleagues. We work on helping you all get a project that can move forward, but the committee makes the ultimate decision on where the funding is going to go each year. So we'll work with you all. And as a reminder, as I've said in past years, the committee will need, if they have questions, they will need those answers very quickly. So I'll be sending emails or calling you all up, and it's usually a tight turnaround. I'll usually need those answers within a few hours, at max at the end of day. So just know that this is a very stressful and quick process at the beginning, and then as Jessica mentioned, it can then take a long time for you to get your to get the money if approved on the other end. The last point there, Jessica, you explained. So Morgan, let's go to the next slide. Now this is our just a little go over of our initial interest form. You'll be able to access that. I sent it in the email, but also in the link that I posted in the chat. These are the things that we need on that interest form. So if your organization is submitting more than one project, that is completely fine. We just ask that you submit individual forms for each project. In that, we're going to need the requesting entity, the best point of contact. Oh, sorry. That's it. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Morgan. The best point of contact. So the person who will know the most about the project, so that when we need to reach out and find information, we're in contact with the best person. Where the project is going to be located. So a good example here is many time a town or city is applying, your physical address is likely not going to be the address of the project. So we just need to know where that's located. A brief description of the project. So this is the who, what, when, why kind of question. You need to show in this description why this project is important to your community and why it is why it's needed and why federal funds should come to your project. You'll also select the account. If you select the wrong account, that's okay. We will take a look and we'll let you know if we think that you should be applying through a different account. Funding. We need to know One, you need to tell us how much money you would like, and we also need to know how much the full project will cost. Those are things that the committee is going to need to take a look at to understand what the project looks like on a whole. You'll need to tell us what type of entity you are. So if you're a for-profit, nonprofit, or a government entity. We also need to know if you're submitting your project to the senators. That's for us on our back end, so that we know what we're collaborating on with the two senators. Our teams work extremely closely all the time, but particularly during this process. All three members, the Congresswoman and the two senators, really want to make sure that we are bringing down as much money for Vermonters as we can. So if you can help us collaborate, that makes the process all the much easier for us. And then ultimately, we need to know if you're going to be able to turn around another form and potentially provide us with much more information by, that says May 9th, but it should say March 9th. This has been a very quick process for us, so we were literally finishing out this slide this morning, so apologies for anything that we've missed there, but that is March 9th. Next slide, Morgan. So as Jessica said, new to the House, and if I hadn't mentioned it before, the Senate and the House sometimes have different accounts that we can pull from. The Senate historically has had a Labor, Health, and Human Services account. We have never had access to that. So we are very excited to have that. It does come with restrictions, though. Again, the Democrats on the committee did not write this process. Any entities who provide abortions or any abortion information, research, or any gender affirming care cannot apply under this Labor, Health, and Human Services account. Again, this is not something that the Congresswoman wanted to see. It's nothing that we are excited to see there. We know that it is going to shut out or make it very difficult for a lot of our organizations to apply under this new account. However, we do hope that there are still organizations that will be able to access this new account. Again, it's new, and we are excited to have another funding stream. There are also some new eligibility requirements and more restrictions for nonprofits. So in the past, there had only been one account or one or two accounts that had restricted nonprofits from applying. Unfortunately, the Appropriations Committee increased that number to a few more accounts this year. So please be sure to review the guidelines to assess your eligibility. And also, we encourage folks to consider if there are any government partners that you could work with who could apply for these funds. In the eligibility, not only many times will you see the ineligibility, but you will also see what entities are eligible. So we encourage you to look at that. Morgan, thank you for going to the next slide as I talk about this very thing. So we've listed some of the things here, just the top lines, but again, I do want to stress, please do review the guidelines. In the ag account, nonprofits are not eligible except for fire departments. In the Commerce, Justice, and Science account, we see again that nonprofit entities are not eligible except for colleges and universities. And within one of the sub accounts, law enforcement focused nonprofits are eligible. In the Interior Environment account, we again see that nonprofits are not allowed. But if it is a university or a nonprofit that provides water or wastewater utility service, they are. I already covered LHHS. And then for transportation and the CDBG Economic Development Initiatives, which is commonly referred to as EDI, nonprofit entities are not eligible, with the exception, again, for public colleges and universities. I think that is a lot that I just said. And although, as we were making this, I do recognize that it sounds like there's a lot of barriers and this is very difficult. However, the Congresswoman has had extreme luck in the past year since she has been elected in bringing great projects to Vermont and getting projects funded. So I wanted to give you all an example of just a few of those, just so you have an idea of how this programming can work. So the Brattleboro Housing Authority, in partnership with the Brattleboro Housing Partnership, we were able to pull down over $1 million for a redevelopment of 30 units, housing units that they are doing there. In Burlington and the Burlington Housing Authority and one of their buildings, we're able to bring in, again, just under $1 million for an elevator renovation. In Linden, we're able to bring in about $700,000 for early childhood education and workforce development. In Berlin, we were able to bring down over $1 million for a wastewater project. So there is money at the end of this. There are some really great and beautiful stories that we've been able to help towns and organizations through this funding. We know it is very difficult, but we ask if you are able to apply, if you qualify. It is a fantastic program once you reach the end. If you want to take a look at more of projects that the Congresswoman has been able to achieve, you can do that on her website in the appropriations section. We have all of our projects listed. Jessica's adding things to the chat. Wonderful. Thank you, Jessica. Morgan, next slide. There we go. So if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, Jessica, or Morgan. You can always call us and check out more information on the website. I don't have anything else to add, Jessica and Morgan. I'll see if you do. If not, we will open it up for questions. And I'll just ask if you can keep your questions to general questions right now. I'm sure that you may have some more in-depth questions about your individual projects, but just for the sake of the other folks on the call, if we can keep things general, that would be great.
So do highway or bridge requests do they go through the Community Development Block Grant, the EDI?
Yeah, so for highway requests, you're going to be looking at, so there's a variety of different infrastructure options through transportation, housing, and urban development. So there's a specific line, for example, for highway infrastructure projects, a specific line for transit infrastructure projects. So that's one of those things where I believe starting on almost to the end of the guide, you're going to want to take a look at there and match up your project that you have with those different buckets.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We've got a lot of hands. Morgan, do you want to call on folks?
I will go to Nicole first.
Thank you. Just a quick question that we have received funding for a couple of projects. It's still in the queue, and I was planning to not apply again for those because I was guessing it probably wouldn't be competitive to ask for additional funding, but just clarifying if there is an opportunity and if we're encouraged to, because it's a big project, we'll go ahead and submit, but any suggestions?
Nicole, that's a great question. You know, I'm never going to tell a Vermont organization not to apply. I will say that the intention of this money is to try to draw down more money across the state, and we'll look at it that way, and also the Appropriations Committee will likely look at it that way as well.
But I will say if there's a new phase of the project, or if there is, you know, it's certainly worth applying. And I would highlight that in your project description if there's something new you want us to know about.
Thanks so much.
Rockingham Development, I think we're good to go, right? If you want to put your hand down, that'd be great. Give you a second there. And then next we'll go to Susan.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I have a question about, it sounds like you're encouraging folks to think about having like a $1 million cap on the project. And, you know, I was planning to submit for under the Agriculture, Rural Development, Community Facilities Grant program for a new highway garage. And it was my understanding that, you know, there could be like a max of like 55% of the project costs for that program, you know, for communities that have, you know, below the threshold on population. And so that number would be more like, you know, 1.43, but would it be like not competitive if we were to put in for that amount of funding?
Yeah, Susan, we discussed that line item on the slide because what we've found historically is around that $1 million mark is what the Appropriations Committee has sent down to us. It has varied. We have actually received more than $1 million for some projects, and Other projects, it's been substantially less. I like to ask the organization to really think about what funding gaps you are going to have. If you absolutely need to request $1.2 million through this process, I would say, move forward with that request. You can always ask us. At the end of the day, the Appropriations Committee will judge how much they think can be awarded. If somebody came to us with a $2-3 million ask, we'd probably ask them to reassess.
Right.
But there hasn't been a strong fixed number that we have been told, or that we have been able to receive, I should say.
And you'll see, if you go on the website, you will see that there are some much bigger asks. So what is published on the website was the requested amount, not the awarded amount. So you can't necessarily use those guidelines, although it is public information what was awarded. But for example, VTrans put in a request to all 3 delegation offices for support to rebuild the Winooski River Bridge between Burlington and Winooski. And the ask was $8 million. Each of the 2 senators and the congresswoman each submitted that request for $8 million. What was awarded, what was written into the budget was $800,000 across the 3 offices. So that was a joint project. The money is awarded jointly. It is not 800,000 a piece from each office that is awarded. But you can see that that was, I think, the biggest ask that we have ever put in. You'll see some 2 millions, but know that the awards were significantly smaller. And Susan, you raised a good point about the community facilities account, which is that you have to show rurality. And so your match is determined by how rural the location is, where the project is located. So that's something to look at too. And we and you will need to work closely with the New Hampshire, Vermont USDA Rural Development Office to do those calculations.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. We'll move it on to Bruce Whitney.
Hi, Bruce Whitney with Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust. For the CDBG EDI, could a town municipality apply for the funds and then sub-grant it to the nonprofit Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust?
That has worked in the past. I think we need to be careful about the sub-grant language, but in the past, Vermont Housing and Conservation Board has made some applications for particular projects in locations around the state. And the Melrose Terrace project that Thomas referenced also needed an applicant that was a governmental or quasi-governmental entity. Because we don't have county government in Vermont, I think we get sometimes a little more leeway, and we've made the case that some of our boards and commissions serve a governmental role more than a nonprofit role. And so, yes, we encourage you to talk to parent organizations or the towns, the cities that you're in, to
All
see
right,
if
thank
that's
you.
feasible for them to apply.
Thanks.
And Bruce, just one thing I would say is that given the there have been changes, right, in terms of eligibility. Make sure you go to EDI, review the guidance. Under the guide that we created, there is a link to the official appropriations guidance. Go through that with a fine-tooth comb to see if there's anything around that as well. But as Jessica said, we can ask specific questions if need be as well. I'll pass it over.
If I could jump in again, though, this raises an important topic, which we didn't hit on at the top, but I think you all probably know by now that housing and mental health are very important issues for the Congresswoman. And so with the addition of the labor HHS account, we now have an opportunity to, before we have been very successful in bringing in money for housing, whether that's through building the actual brick and mortar housing itself, renovating housing, or supporting infrastructure like water and wastewater projects that will help Vermonters build more housing, improve our housing stock going forward. But this year, we're excited that with the addition of that Labor, Health, and Human Services account, we are hopeful that we can expand some of that success to fund projects in the mental health and substance use disorder treatment area. And that account is specifically focused on facilities construction or equipment purchases. So take that into account as you're considering your project.
Thanks, Jessica. I will pass that along next to Sarah Pelkey, Cedar.
Hi, thanks everyone. So my question is about a wastewater treatment facility application for a rural municipality, and I'm trying to figure out which program it would fall under, which is more likely to receive an award, if it's the EPA STAG or the USDA RD for water and wastewater disposal. Is there any way to kind of help figure out, what is the right program for that type of application?
Sarah, that's always a very good question. Sorry, Jessica, I saw you might also be about to respond to this. I would say for that specific question, in the guidance document, we have linked the full committee guidance. I would take a look at the full committee guidance for your project and see which one would better suit. If you look at that and you're not able to figure that out, just reach out to me, Sarah, and I'll take a look at it with you. But we've found projects funded through both of those streams, so it really does require the applicant to look through that full guidance and just understand their specific project, what your knowledge is on that, and pairing it up with those two different funding streams.
The only caveat there is, I would say, given the short timeline, if there is a question and we aren't able to talk it through with you this afternoon, just go ahead and apply. Put down the account that you think best matches. And then once we take a look at it, we will, we have some other details that are too in the weeds to get into here, but it's very easy for us. You're not locked into that account with your interest form. So we may come back to you and say, actually, we think your project will fit better in this other account. And that's one of the ways that we work with you all. So please don't not apply because you're not sure which account you should be in.
Thanks, Jessica. I'm going to throw it over to Erin.
Thank you. I had a question about if you could provide some recent examples of funded projects in the energy and water development. I am in the nonprofit world, and I see from the slides that there's a lot of restrictions around nonprofits. But I have a really great project, and so I'm trying to figure out if this project would be funded through that one. So if you could just give some examples, and I'll just share that it's dam removal. I've got a lot of dams I want to remove. And I'm curious if it's in the energy and water development account, or I'll look at the other ones, but if you could just, again, provide me some specifics.
Yeah, Erin, what I'm going to say, honestly, is I think it would just make more sense if you just want to shoot me an email, we can take a look at your project. I don't think we've done anything in that realm. It doesn't mean that it's not something we could do. Nobody's just applied with a project like that. So I haven't looked into that specifically.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that.
Thanks, Erin. Gail. Gail, are you there? Can you come off mute? Say. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's see. Rita.
Hi. I'm Rita Souther with the Center for Cartoon Studies in White River Junction. And we're a nonprofit college, and we're renovating a building in downtown, an old building that has sat there for a while. We're doing a lot of remediation work. So this building will now become an instruction facility and a space for the community, for events, for workshops, for the kids that come to our cartoon club, and really bringing that part of White River Junction to life with all the other great businesses and cultural facilities that are there now. So my question is, would this project fit into the new account? I understand it's a very it will be a very competitive one, the labor, human services, education. But would that be the best fit, you think?
I'm churning my mind as I'm looking at some of the different guidance here to try to think. You know, traditionally, I probably would have steered you towards community facilities for something like this. I'd have to look at the LHHS again to see. My first thought is it may not fit there perfectly, but it certainly could. But again, I'll say this is another one that I would encourage you to reach out to us and we can look at it a little. And again, as Jessica said, please apply where you think it will fit. And if it fits somewhere else, we'll let you know. And there's no penalization there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Rita, just to confirm on the building for the center, that is owned by the Center for Cartoon Studies. That is not a municipal building, correct?
It is now proudly owned.
Owned by you all. That's so exciting. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
I will pass it on to Devin.
Hi, thank you. This kind of complements Bruce's question, but I was wondering if a municipality applies for funding, receives it, are they able to contract then a nonprofit to complete the project itself? Could the funds be used for that? Specifically, I'm with the Vermont Youth Conservation Corps. We work throughout the state to complete large-scale conservation projects and work very closely with states and other nonprofits and government agencies. So just wondering if funds could be used in that way.
I think you should apply. I don't think that there is a specific, I mean, there are lots of, the state, for example, right, contracts with nonprofits. So while this isn't, the delay in our answers is that this is a little bit of new territory for us because it's a new restriction. But I think it's worth looking into an application.
Do you mean an application? So identifying one of our partners and having them make the application? Because we're VYCC is a nonprofit. We do work with towns and municipalities to complete these projects, but they hire out our crews to do the work. So are you encouraging VYCC to submit an application?
No, I'm sorry. If you are looking at one of the accounts that does not allow recipients to be nonprofits, then you would need to look at a partner to make that application for you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And Devin, I would just, again, there's been some pieces of information that is around sub recipients. So just make sure you look at the guidance to see if there's anything about that in that specific account. And that is it for Peter. I think you had a question, but I'm seeing that your hand is down.
Yes, Jessica answered it with her last statement, so thank you very much.
Perfect. Any additional questions? Erin, go ahead.
Hi, so if I write to you, Thomas, and provide a quick synopsis of our project, would you be getting back to me today or over the weekend prior to Monday to know if I should submit the form and I can do my homework? I'm just trying to get a timeline because actually today I have off and Monday I have off. And so I'm now like, oh, okay, maybe I won't take those days off and get this form in. So selfishly, I'm like, oh my gosh, this timeline is bananas.
Very sorry about that. Yes, it completely is. It's bananas all around. Yes, if you can email me today, I will take a look at that today and try to get you an answer so that you can fill it out as soon as you can.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Nicole?
Thank you. The one agency that we often struggle to confirm our eligibility is USDA, because we're eligible in some and not in others because of our population size. If we had questions on any of the specifics in there, is it best to go to USDA staff, or should we check with you guys?
If you have a good contact at USDA that you can ask that question to, ultimately they are the ones we're using their rules. If you want to CC me on those emails, so I know it's something you're doing. If you don't have a good contact, I'm happy for you to reach out to me, and I will reach out to USDA. Fine either way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and USDA RD, the local office is very short-staffed right now. So I'd say, you know, as soon as questions arise, get them to them, get them to us simultaneously, and we'll try and work through that. And the other thing is with the short timeline, it would be good to have you include all of us on communications, so that we can make sure to respond to you as promptly as possible. And we'll put our emails in the chat.
Shut up. She changed.
So we can still hold a little space for some time for questions, but we just want to share the information that we're going to share with you following this meeting. So we will share a PDF of the slides that we've created with the updated March deadline. That's taken care of. We will share a recording of this call, so you can go back and look at that. We will share out the form. We will share out the guidance, share out our contact information, and just appreciate all of your support as we're navigating this very, very tight turnaround, and appreciate all of you for the work that you're doing on behalf of your communities. I'm seeing a question from Gary. Is there any avenue for a nonprofit to apply for a housing project under any other accounts?
Yeah, Gary, sorry. So I had seen that you had put that question in the chat, but I had thought Jessica and I had kind of answered it with some other folks' questions. There are accounts that people have used for housing work. We've done a lot of housing projects, actually. The caveat with the nonprofit point is that you need to be partnered alongside an entity that is eligible. Jessica mentioned earlier that we've had groups who have partnered with VHCB, for example, to be the applicant for that project. There was another example that you gave, Jessica, but I forget what in terms of Melrose, who they had partnered with, but they partnered with another entity.
Yeah, the housing authorities, we've had success making the argument that they are also quasi-governmental agencies. And in the past, the Appropriations Committee has signed off on that. So I would definitely talk to your local housing authority, talk to VHCB. If you don't have those connections, we can try to help connect you with those as well. The other housekeeping point is if you came to this information session because you were forwarded a link, if it did not land in your inbox from an email from Thomas, will you please reach out to us with your email address so we are sure that you are on our list. We can get you the materials.
Thanks, Jessica. We will, Peter, you want to ask your question?
Yeah, so totally understood about nonprofit housing agencies applying through a third party, whether it's VHCB or a municipality. Just in the interest of time for the interest form, is a nonprofit able to submit that and just say the intent is to apply with VHCB?
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Rita?
Hi, I'll be quick. Is there a word count on the project description on the form? I'm sorry, PTSD from grant applications.
I don't know. Is there, Jessica?
I'm not sure whether we limited that. We can check the form, but really for this initial purposes, The shorter the better. You don't need to make the case. You don't need to describe the community you serve. You need to let us know where your project is, what the public need is, why it's a good use of federal taxpayer dollars, and what you're going to do, what you would do with the money. Yeah.
Couple paragraphs kind of thing.
Maybe not even one paragraph
Okay.
is fine. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not, you're not being graded on your grammar or your usage. This is just about getting a sense of what your project is and how it will serve Vermonters. And then we will come back to you and we will give you much more specific, a more specific format for how we need the additional information if you are advanced as a
Okay.
finalist.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, in the past, we've received some descriptions that include like a good page of just like of the history of an entity, which we appreciate, love hearing all about that. But in this format, just what Jessica and Thomas have shared is helpful. Liz Curry.
Thanks, and thanks for pulling this webinar together so quickly. You probably said when the application, is there an application form for March 9th? You probably said when that would be ready. I missed it.
And, you know, Liz, we actually didn't say when that would be ready. The nature, and again, I do apologize again. The nature of this is we are moving just as fast as we're asking you to move. So my hope is that we would be able to get it to you very shortly after the second, once we have been able to get all of your applications in. We'll then have to review them. Just so folks are aware, we've got a lovely turnout on this call, but we did reach out to about 250 entities asking them to apply. And of course, then there's word of mouth in the community. So it will be very much up to how quickly Jessica Morgan and I can go through all of those. And of course, speak with the Congresswoman so that she can look at these projects and determine who what she wants to prioritize to move to that next round. I wish I had an answer I could give you, Liz. We're trying as much as we can to not give you these super fast turnarounds, but we also have the super fast turnarounds on our end as well. So sorry.
And I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I joined this a little bit late because I was on the road, but is there a dollar range for these grants?
Yeah,
No worries at all.
Yeah, go ahead, Thomas, please answer.
Well, I was just gonna say, no worries for joining late, and thanks for joining us. And we ask that we have been successful over the years in getting, I would say, around $1 million for projects, sometimes more, sometimes it's been less. Sometimes folks have asked for more, and the committee has given us, several $100,000 less than we have asked. Look at your funding stack for the project and evaluate what you think you will need in additional funds and shoot for that. If you put a number in there, Ed, that one of us thinks is completely unattainable, we'll let you know of that. But I also don't want to encourage people to only ask for $100,000 if what they need is $800,000.
Thank you.
Dan Lawless.
Our project would be two bridges that were damaged by flooding. And I'm just wondering, we don't know what the projects are going to cost yet. So what we would like to ask for is planning and implementation. Engineering, design, hydrology studies, and construction. Is that appropriate? Or would it be better to wait until we know what these are actually going to cost? You can tell me the honest answer.
I feel like the honest answer, I need to go back and look at the guidance. There are some accounts that do allow for planning and engineering money, and there are others that don't. So you would just need to really look and see and see what the guidance says about that, Anne. But I wouldn't not submit a project and hold off in hopes, because we also don't know. I mean, every year Congress decides whether this process is even going to be part of the federal budgeting process. So that could change. So I would say apply for what you need for now, and we'll see if we can make it work
Okay,
within
thank you.
this year's parameters. Sure.
Thank you.
All right, not seeing any more questions. Well, as Morgan had mentioned, we will have some follow-up materials. All of our emails are in the chat here if you don't have them already. Again, thank you for moving on this super fast timeline. Maybe one day this process will go a little more how we would like it to go, but until then, thank you for participating in the chaos with us. Oh, Ed, do you have another question?
Yes. If we were to ask questions over the weekend, are you guys working on this over the weekend?
Well, I'll be monitoring email, so you can, it might not be an immediate response, but I will try and get back to you as soon as possible.
And Ed, I don't think you had joined when I had said this. In the guide that we sent out to you all, within that guide is links to the full appropriations language. So we tried to kind of distill the guide so it was a little easier for folks to read. But a lot of questions that people will have will actually be answered if you open up that link to the full guide. Those full guides they're extensive, some are 12 to 20 pages, but many times you will find the answers there. And I just caveat that because as Jessica will be trying to monitor email, but if you're trying to do your work as well on a weekend, you might find the answer there before one of us would get back to you over a weekend. And again, just kind of to the question I was asked earlier, we may be looking over 200 plus applications. So we will try to get back as quickly as we can to people, but that is why I prefaced really looking at the guide. A lot of the answers will be in there. We understand they won't be, and that's really the great time to reach out to us on that.
The reason I asked, we're talking about in addition to a museum building. And my understanding is museums really aren't being funded at all.
Yeah, Ed, that I do appreciate you bringing that up because for the most part, I can't think of an account that is funding museums. Morgan and Jessica, as you looked over it, or if anyone on our PROPS team also, I do believe museums is one of the things that cannot be funded.
So sort of second part of that, what about a nature center?
That is much more likely. Yes.
Yeah.
We've had success with that in the past.
Okay.
Ed, that doesn't preclude. So again, I know that Thomas said this at the outset. The accounts that we have are not the same accounts, and the rules in the Senate are not the same, right? So if you are applying to our office, that's awesome. And please continue to look and review the guidance that are now that are going. I don't even know if it's available yet in the Senate, so I didn't say that. But
No, but
please
we
make
do
sure
know
that you
Sorry,
review those opportunities.
Yeah, we do know Senator Welch has his portal open on his website. They don't have their guidance out yet, but they are accepting applications based on last year's guidance. And their deadlines are, as I said, I think they're working like at the end of March, beginning of April. So there's a little more leeway.
Does that answer your question, Ed?
Yeah, I think so.
Enough.
I think we're going to struggle to be eligible, but we're going to submit something.
Wonderful.
Great. And if you have specific questions, you can email the three of us this afternoon and we can talk through that as well.
Okay. And thank you very much for your help with this.
Amanda.
Hi, everyone. Sorry to show up late to the party. We had a question looking at the section that talks about pre-disaster mitigation. And the project that's on our mind at Outright is the reconstruction of a dam at our new property out at Sunrise, and assessing the needs of the dam. It's been rated poor by the state several times in a row upon inspection. And we've been working with design engineers to come up with a plan to make it resilient to a 1,000-year flooding event, as well as the pedestrian infrastructure to get over it. But the language of that section seemed kind of specific to governments, like state, local government entities, and we're obviously not either of those things. So I guess I had a question about whether or not to float that, and then also just so that the ballot office knows that we want to reconstruct a dam, and we can really use your help thinking about that. So any intel would be super helpful.
Yeah, so Amanda, we had talked about a little bit. Unfortunately, for many of these accounts, the Appropriations Committee has limited or excluded nonprofits from applying. What we have said, though, is that in the past, we've had a lot of projects have had success by partnering with an allowable agency or entity that can do the application for them and be a partner in the project. So if you think you would be able to find that partner, you don't have to have them fill out the interest form. We understand that may be some conversations, but if you can fill out the interest form and note to us the partner that you think you're going to be working with, or the partners that you're going to be talking to.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I think we could approach the town of Benson, where the dam is, to be the sort of hosting body, but their turnaround time might not be this process turnaround times, but maybe it's something we could work toward for next year. Yeah, anyway, I can noodle on that, but that's super helpful.
I think there were projects last year where we really were working with you, the applicant, to get this across the finish line. So there wasn't there wasn't as much involvement other than a commitment from the applying entity. So keep that in mind, that you'll still be heavily involved in the process. You're not handing it over to somebody else entirely, but we do need them to be the recipient of the money. So they need to go down on record as receiving the grant funds.
I just want to,
oh, thank you.
sorry, really quickly. I just wanted to say, Amanda, and to everyone, at the end of the brief description, if there's some of these things that you're still trying to suss out, and don't hesitate to put that in there, that trying to figure out if there is a municipal partner for this project. Again, we fully understand that Monday is an incredibly tight turnaround, and there's some stuff that you're still trying to figure out, because there's not really another area in our form other than the brief description. Use the bottom piece to, use the bottom of that as additional notes or FYIs, as you're, we understand fully that this is a lot to ask to complete. So you can use that space to do that.
That's super helpful. Thank you.
Right, it looks like we're just about at time. If there is no last burning question, we'll give you a minute back, and you know where to reach us if you need us, and we'll be sending this recording and slides and the materials out this afternoon. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.